Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. It's December 5th, and now we're joined by the great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and Big Ten Network. Good day, Mike. How are you, sir?
I am well. Look at us wearing our company gear today.
I know. I just got those in, so thought I'd sport that baby. Pete did a great job with those. And, of course, the Sporting News. Make sure you're following Mike there to get all of your content for a myriad of sports, no matter what it is. We were just talking about the Peacock Network. People always complain every time that there's, whether it's Big Ten Plus or ESPN Plus, people like to complain about that. And where do you think this money for these schools are coming from, people? That's exactly where this money comes from. So, but you know what? Just think about if you were going to a live game, how much that would cost you, fuel and the money you're going to spend on concessions, and you're not going to have as good a seat, and you can't watch replays. So, I'm like going, it's just not that bad to me to pay for a service that gets what I want, but I sure do wish I would have hit the apparently there was a pretty nice Black Friday special for Peacock that I missed out on. $19.99 for the year or something, I think. But oh well. How's Mike DeCourcy doing?
I'm doing well. Better than the Florida State Seminoles for sure.
Ooh, wow, yeah.
But I will say I have Peacock. I have, like we were saying off the air, I have a majority of the streaming services because a lot of them rightly assessed that soccer fans will pay for content. But it's not a very expensive service if you get the ad supported version. I don't know what the non-ad service costs, but the ad supported version doesn't have a ton of commercials, a minute break here and there during programs. And obviously, if you're watching sports, that's really not much of a burden because it's breaking for regular television anyway. Yep. So I've enjoyed a lot of the stuff that I've seen on Peacock. So if you get Peacock, because you want to watch Big Ten basketball, you get to see my buddies Joel Cornette and Josh Pastner as analysts there, which is nice. They're both terrific guys, and great to see them in the game. And be sure to watch Poker Face because it's a terrific show. That's when I think about what I've watched on Peacock that I've really enjoyed. That's a 10-episode program they did. I hope they're going to do more seasons. It's really good.
I'm slow, but I'm on Netflix. I'm just now watching Longmire, which I discovered went off the air in like 2018 or something. I'm like, really? I'm like, wow, how did I miss out on this? So just, yeah, I've been busy. I was busy, Mike. I've been busy.
I get it.
Speaking of busy, Indiana's been busy with a new football coach, Curt Cignetti, who has also been busy in getting to work and filling out his staff. I'm sure recruiting his current team to see which ones he wants to keep, because before you joined us, I talked about the fact that some of these players are going to stay, some of them are not going to stay. And part of it, his persona is very different from what they have dealt with over the last 7 years with Tom Allen. Curt Cignetti is a no BS kind of guy. He may come across a little cocky. He's definitely got some confidence, but I think Indiana needs that a little bit, and we'll see. But it's definitely a whole new era for Indiana football. There's a different sheriff in town now, and he's bringing most of his assistants with him, some of which have already had time in Indiana.
Yeah, Curt is a Pittsburgh native like me.
I forgot to mention that Yinzer. He's a Yinzer like you. I would just learn, and we'll get back to this, but I just learned what a Yinzer was from Dustin DePirick yesterday.
Yes, Dustin is one of us, definitely. Kurt, I'm not sure where Kurt grew up because his father moved around a little bit. His father, Frank, was head coach at West Virginia for a little while. Wasn't a smash, but then went to a Division II university in Western Pennsylvania called Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Eventually, because it, I hadn't thought about that, but he and his father now will have both coached at Indiana University. His father coached at what's now known as IUP division. They've had a very successful Division II basketball program, a national power in that sport, and his father was a legend at IUP. They did fantastic things, and Kurt has had great success at James Madison. He's done a wonderful job there, especially handling the transition from FCS to FBS as well as he did.
Kurt Signetti was the head coach at IUP as well.
He was, yes. He succeeded his father. That's where he got his start. I believe he was the direct successor to his father. I may be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. And he's proven to be a terrific coach at both. Well, really, he's coached at 3 levels now. And in reality, in the step to Indiana, it's a 4th level, because although the letters say Division II is 1 and FCS is another and FBS is a 3rd, let's be honest. I mean, James Madison is not IUP. That's why Kurt's taking this job, because they're not the same. In the Florida State debate, people are starting to say, well, why doesn't Liberty count? Well, I mean, I want the best of the G5 to get into the playoff. And this year that won't be true. Next year it will. And I certainly think Liberty deserves that shot. But when we're having this conversation about it as a 14 playoff, it's not the same. So, I mean, the reality is that the Sun Belt and Conference USA are not, and the WAC or whatever are not the same leagues as what we see in the Big Ten and the ACC and the SEC. It's just not the same. So he's taking this step up because not only it means more money, but it means a greater challenge. And as we know, Indiana football is a significant challenge within that greater challenge.
Speaking of Peacock, Derek says it's only $5.99 a month and you can cancel anytime. So people, you got to shell out $15 to watch some basketball, or however long the games are that Indiana's on. Were they on like 5 times? So
yeah, the people who I feel worst for in this are those who don't have smart TVs. I mean, then they're stuck either watching on their iPad or their phone or whatever.
Most TVs have an input for a dongle, though, right?
Yeah, you can do that. But I have one of the first edition, and I still use it in my workout room, plasma TVs from 2005. It's held up beautifully since 2005. It's kind of like a heirloom to me, because I was like on the cutting edge of high def, because I bought that back in the day. So it does not have the ability.
I'm right there with you, dude. And this damn thing is heavy as a boulder. I mean, and it's thin screen. It's at least this thick, which that is not a thin screen. And I'm like, God dang, this thing weighs like 60 pounds, man.
Yep. I watched the 2005 Super Bowl on that when the Steelers beat Seattle, and I watched the 2006 World Cup because I was there at the beginning, man. But for the most part, people have the ability to put a Fire Stick in their TV. That's only if you don't have a smart TV and you have the receptor, you can put a Fire Stick in there. I think those are only $25. It's an expense, but it's not an egregious expense. And like I said, you do get in addition to the new Big Ten programming, the ability to watch the Premier League, some really good programs. And I will confess, this is a public confession, Jim. During the pandemic, my wife and I started watching the soap opera Days of Our Lives, and we're still watching it now. So and you can only watch Days on.
That show is older than you and I combined.
I know. You can only watch days if you have Peacock. So there you go. You get that thrown into the mix along with Big Ten basketball.
Let's see. What was I going to go? Oh, okay. We've got Heisman finalists and college football finalists to talk about. And first of all, the college football championship. Did Florida State get screwed, or did they get? I know that they were deserving, but are they one of the 4 best teams in the country?
Well, here's the thing, Jim. Here's the thing. The use of the phrase "for best" has been and always was a hustle. It's a hustle because when you say that, you can define best however you wish. You can move it around to put in whoever you want to put in.
Yep.
That's the reality of it. There's only accomplished. There's no such thing as best. You can call yourself the best once you've won the championship, but even then, the best team, if there is such a thing, may have lost, like in the NCAA tournament last year. What if Purdue was the best team? I mean, they didn't win it, and maybe it's a hard thing to make an argument for, but maybe they were. We don't know. They just had a terrible day and lost and didn't go far or whatever. And UConn won the championship. Were they the best team? They lost, 9 games, 8 games, 7, whatever in January, February. They weren't the best team in January and February. They were the best team in March, but they were the champions because they were asked to do a specific thing, and they did it, and they get a trophy for that. Florida State entered the year believing, well, if we win all our games, we have to be a playoff team. They did not have that in writing, so to speak.
Never happened, but it's never not happened before.
Never happened. But I saw it coming. As soon as Jordan Travis got hurt and they demoted them a spot or two, I can't remember how many, I wrote a column that said, look, here's what's going to happen. So don't be surprised when it does, because this committee can't be trusted. And I got a lot of kickback, a lot of pushback on that column from people saying, oh, you're just being alarmist. That's not going to happen. They would never do that to a P5 undefeated. And I said, okay, let's see what happens. And then when Alabama won the Georgia game, and I was in the press box at the Big Ten final between Michigan, the Big Ten championship game between Michigan and Iowa, and I was having a conversation with my good friend Malcolm Moran, the professor at IUPUI sports journalism program. When I was talking to him, he said he thought they might have 2 SEC teams in there, and I'm like, but there shouldn't be any. And that was when I decided to write the column that I did, because I could tell that what was coming around the bend in that train was exactly what I had predicted it to be. And the victim of that would be Florida State. Florida State looked bad on Saturday night. Well, they didn't look bad when the other team had the football. Why is it we only judge the beauty of a team based on how many points they score and not how many points or yards they don't allow? You got 3 separate entities on a football team: special teams, offense, defense. Special teams are probably about 10% of the game. The other 45 are split between offense and defense, but we only judge you as great or best or whatever if you have a productive offense. That's ridiculous. Florida State on Saturday night was not going to be the same team as it would be on January 1, because their second quarterback, had a concussion, I guess it was, a head injury of some sort.
He's going to be back.
And he'll be back. It's what they did. I really believe that what the committee did, that they shouldn't been able to look in the mirror on Monday morning. It was that disgraceful.
It's SEC bias. There's no doubt that there's no SEC bias.
No, they were never going to have that was one of the lines that I used in my column on Saturday night. I said, is it even legal to have a college football playoff tournament without the SEC? I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know for sure. And it turns out the answer was no, it's not.
Well, at least next year we won't have to worry about, to a degree, with teams like that getting in. So it's the last year that we have to worry about the four it being decided in that manner. But there'll be arguments next year, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, too, but first of all, let me say this: every team next year, as the season begins in the what will now be the Power Four, every team will know if we win our championship, we're in. Every team will know that. If you don't win your championship, then you are putting your fate up for grabs. And if you don't get in, it's your fault. You didn't win your championship. Nothing prevented you from winning your championship except your own ability and the ability of your opponents. But you couldn't overcome the opponents, so it's on you. Right now, Florida State can't say that. Florida State did everything that was asked of them. Won every game they played, won the ACC championship, and it didn't matter. That will not be the case in the future. The only team that may have an argument, we may get, let's say, an undefeated, who's left in the American, an undefeated Memphis in the American, and then an undefeated James Madison in the Sun Belt. And then, okay, now what do we got? If James Madison is even in the Sun Belt, I can't remember which of those doggone leagues.
They still are in the Sun Belt. Yes.
Okay. All right. So we might, and then what do you do? Okay. So now we have a little problem, and maybe they find room for both of them. Probably they don't. But then you have a little bit of an argument. But other than that, you're not going to have, you're going to have the 13th best team mad at the 12th best team. What do I care? The 13th best team, again, had its chance to win a championship and did not do that. Just as, like at the end of the NCAA tournament selections, 99, well, maybe not 99, 9 out of 10, it's the committee just picks a different team that's barely qualified than another team that's barely qualified, that may be people who do what I do for Fox, the bracket projections, prefer the other team. Last 2 years, the bracket matrix vastly preferred the last team on the outline, the first team on the outline, over the last team on the inline. But it's not like the only people that lost sleep were the fans of those teams. Ball went in the air on Tuesday night or Thursday morning, whichever you prefer to believe is the start of the NCAA tournament. And everything was fine because everybody who earned their way in or had met the qualification was in. And it was just down to a matter of taste for the last few entrants.